Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Great General Unilateral Neuralink Dispersive Automatic Maneuver Project. I'm Jackson. I'm joined by Em.
Vault together!
Vault together.
That's not the line. The line is Gundam time. People will be mad if I don't say it.
It's Gundam time. This is the Great Gundam Project, episode 214, and we are starting Gundam Seed today, so it's a free episode. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
If you've not listened before, this is a podcast in which me and Em, who are both from the Abnormal Mapping Network, abnormalmapping.com, are going week by week through all of Gundam, and we've been doing it for 214 weeks.
Yeah, we took a couple weeks off, It's been since 2017.
Yep. Since August 2017, we have been here most weeks. Not all weeks, but pretty much most weeks.
Most weeks, yeah.
And we've watched Gundam, and we are now reaching the 2002 anime Gundam Seed, unless it's in 2003.
I don't remember. I have it up. I could pull it up.
I think it's 2002.
I could let you flounder. It is October of 2002.
That's what I was going to say. So I was right. I was just needlessly doubting myself in front of everyone. But one of the most important parts of this podcast, before we get into any of that Gundam stuff, is we have to center ourselves, because 214 is not a number that means anything, unless we ask a question. What Pokemon is that?
It's bug and it's fighting. Would that help you?
No.
Okay.
I need a picture, please.
I think of all the Pokemon you might know go forward, I think this is one where I feel like you probably know the name of it, if there's any.
Okay.
I say this as you're about to flop hard, but there you go.
Oh, this guy.
Please explain
this
the
guy. It's a beetle. It's literally just a stag beetle with a big stag on his head. It's a stag beetle.
What color is it? Can you
blue.
Describe? Yeah, okay.
It's a blue stag beetle.
He's friendly. I love him.
He's a friendly guy. This is a classic guy. I've seen this guy on Twitter. I know people who love this guy. Completely forgotten the name. Is it? There's just stag guy, blue stag.
No. This is... I'm not even going to make you flounder more. This is Heracross.
Heracross, yes. Okay, yes. I have heard that before. I knew I would have recognized it when I heard it, but I had no chance of actually getting it.
A cross of Heracles and Cross. I don't know why the cross is there, but he's a good guy. I love him.
You make fun, but there have been times in when me and Austin were doing this, we have said things like stag guy, stag blue, and it has worked. So you gotta take the shot.
I think this works less than you project it working.
It worked one time, it could work again.
Yeah, exactly. This guy has a Mega Evolution, which I'm mixed on my feelings on Mega Evolutions, but this one,
news. They took him out.
Yes, this one is still a cool guy. So look at this little guy.
Look at this fucking guy.
They just made him Buffer Beetle, but he still looks like a kind of mostly friendly. He just chill. He does have full on mech vents on his belly now.
Yeah, he is no longer because the first one is just a beetle.
Yes.
I don't read it as a mech. Any mech parts are just because beetles are already just the mechs of the natural world.
Yes.
But now he's got actual metal vents on him.
Yeah, and he has Turn X hands.
It's true, he does have Turn X hands. Well, this is a good guy. I like this guy. This is a classic Pokemon.
Yeah, doesn't evolve or anything. Just kind of Heracross. That's it.
Yeah.
Can't mess with perfection.
You can't just mess with a classic guy.
They have messed with many classic guys is the worst part. So.
Pokemon loves to mess with a classic guy.
Yeah.
Anyway. Have we watched any anime this week before we get into Seed? I don't think I haven't, other than reading Akira at the Beach House.
Yeah, we have another podcast called Your Uncle's Beach House. There will be an episode on Friday about the final volume of Akira, which we've been reading them all with our friend Rick, and that's an incredible book, so you should check that out. Before we get into the Gundam, I will say, if you haven't listened to us, this episode goes out free. It'll be on YouTube. You can find all the free episodes that we have at timetogoax.is. You can find us on Twitter at timetogoaxis. This podcast comes out every Wednesday. It only costs $1 at patreon.com/neuromapping. If you look at the other tiers, we have other free other podcasts at other tiers that I think are really good. I think they're worth listening to. At $5, we have Blockbusters, where we watch a movie every month and break it down like script writing wise. And talk about its like production and weird ideologies behind every blockbuster film. At $10, we have a podcast every 2 weeks called VoIP Life, where we just kind of goof around. We had our friends on to talk about Gilmore Girls recently and a bunch of other things besides. That was a sprawling conversation. It's hard to sum it up. But if you just want to support the network and the many podcasts we have at neuromapping.com, you can pitch us $10. It'd be great.
Yeah.
But this podcast, a steal at $1. So if you like this at all, I would recommend signing up, and we keep going. We will not stop until we are done with Gundam.
This is projected to be sometime in either late 2027 or early 2028, depending.
Oh, it's definitely 2028. There's no way they stop making Gundam enough to not push us out into 2028.
I don't know. That Hathaway movie is coming out in 2024, so they're taking a while making Gundam.
Well, that's fair. There'll be like 3 more builds by then. Don't worry about it.
All right, in that case, it'll be early 2028, but is when we'll be done with this.
There was just another SD like intimated this past week, but no one knows what it is or how long it is. It's like a side story of the World Heroes thing.
I was gonna say, is it another Three Kingdoms thing?
No, it's well, I mean, the World Heroes thing comes out of the Three Kingdoms thing, but it's like a side story to that. That's specifically about Night Gundam, maybe. I don't remember. I didn't pay that much attention to it.
Okay, sure. I'll understand that when I get there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's all the preamble taken care of. Thanks for joining us. And let's get on to Gundam Seed. Gundam Seed is a 2002 anime series from Sunrise, directed by Mitsuo Fukuda, written by Chiaki Murasawa, music by Toshihiko Sashi. Where's the character designer? Why doesn't Wikipedia not list the character designer on the side?
You would think they would just do this.
Do it for anime. Where's the character designer?
I could. You know what? I'm gonna go to Anime News Network. I bet they've got your back. I bet I can just do this. I
bet the anime people know the credits that matter on an
character
anime.
Designer Hisashi Hirai. And mecha design is by Kimitoshi Yamane and Kunio Okawara, who I assume is just hanging out designing the main Gundam again still, but I don't actually know. Someone will tell us.
I mean, I don't know. It sometimes goes the other way.
That's
X
true.
go the other way?
Yeah, I don't know. I love that Okawara just continues to show up, design a thing or two.
I designed classic mech, the G-Savior.
Designed classic mech, the Scope Dog. You could just retire off that, but he did not.
You could retire off the Scope Dog. Scope Dog's better than every mech in Gundam combined. Almost. I don't know how confident I'm being. Scope Dog's one of the best mechs ever created.
I know. I'm with you.
Yeah.
He designed the Strike Gundam. Maybe you've heard of it.
Okay, so he is on the Gundams this time.
Yes.
That makes sense. There's a lot of fucking Gundams in the show.
Yeah. Specifically, the writing directing team is also known for future GPX Cyber Formula, which is the racing mecha anime. And if there was ever a show that might be on our future schedule, I don't know, it's like 37 episodes, such a weird fit, but I'd really like to watch it. It seems perfect for a backup show.
It has been recommended to us multiple times since we thought that F91 would be a racing Gundam.
Right. Here's the thing. The original TV show is 37, then it has a sequel that's 27, and then 4 OVA arcs. And
you can't
it doesn't fit into anything.
If your anime podcast is in any way constrained by like how long a core is, you're not fitting that one in.
Maybe someday we're done with Gundam then.
That'd be great.
After we watch Code Geass.
Of course. Let's get to what really matters.
Yeah.
So, episode 1 of Mobile Suit Gundam Seed is called False Peace.
Okay, so we see 4 Zaf suits all falling. Are they falling to Earth? I wasn't clear on this because I was like, oh, this takes place on Earth, but then the rest of this takes place in, like,
these Zaf suits are falling to Earth. This is part of the, introduction.
The lore, yeah. And then the narrator tells us that it's year 70, the cosmic era, and after the Bloody Valentine tragedy, it started a war between the plant colonies and Earth forces. They're like, oh, Earth's gonna mop the floor with all these Zaft motherfuckers, and 11 months in, turns out that's not the case, and the war seems to have no end in sight. A one-year war, if you will.
Now, what does that mean?
Well, see, once upon a time, there was a thing called Mobile Suit Gundam. It's a pretty famous anime. It's pretty old. It looks like shit, so nobody watches it. But in that, there was a bunch of colonies, and one of the colonies declared independence. They were called Zeon, and they wanted to... the Earth Federation, who were the hegemon, said no, and so there was a big war that was started over them wanting independence, and they fucked up the Earth real bad. Because they had better mobile suits.
Well, guess
they
what?
had any mobile suits, really.
Sure, they did have, because they had mobile suits.
Yes. Anyway, we are here on in a school, on a colony, is the colony itself called Orb?
The colony is called Orb.
I don't understand the geography of space in this world yet.
I'm sure it will be explained because Orb is not the plants. And not Zaft. It is independent. It's neutral. It's neutral. It's
yes.
not. It's not part of the Federation. Well, I don't know what's is it Earth Alliance in this.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if Orb, because like Orb, they talk about Orb, and then they talk about what's the Heliopolis, and then they talk about the other location, which I can't remember.
The plants.
Morgenrot.
Yes. So,
and I don't know what those are, if they're both like areas inside Orb or what. I'm not clear about this yet. We'll figure it out.
A lot of names being thrown around, a million characters.
There's
we
so
are
many characters in
simply not clear on the lore yet. You'll just have to forgive us. It'll become clear through the course of the show.
Yeah, so Kira Yamato is busy writing code with one hand as he like reads notes from his other hand, and is also listening to the news about the the Zaft forces pushing onto the Kaohsiung front. And also there's a robot bird that's hanging out annoying him. He's just busy. He's a busy guy. He's a millennial, and he's multitasking.
Yes.
And so he's helping Professor Kato with work. All his friends come up and like, the professor gave you more stuff to do. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm just doing my best or whatever. And then they talk about the front being there, and they're like, the war won't come to us. Orb's neutral, so clearly we'll be fine, even though the front is very near us. Kira has a romantic flashback to the time his boyfriend gave him a robot bird and then fucked off to space because he's a part of like the plants. It's just like full-on shoujo falling Sakura petals. Please remember me. Maybe someday we can meet again, and you also can come into space and see how I live. But here's my robot bird before I bounce. Love it.
You remember that one shot in Gundam Wing where Quattro was very wet?
You can't just say this.
Where his eyes were drawn in such a tearful way.
Oh, melting Katra, yes.
Melting Katra. Everyone in Seed looks like that, mostly at all times, but especially in these Cherry Blossom flashbacks.
I think that is rude. I think it's more consistent than that.
It does have more like consistent.
It definitely has like the early aughts. Like this is an early Digipaint show. It's the most Digipaint anime I think I've ever seen. In terms of its effects and its general aesthetics, but I think they're just like more coherent. And I know that like they did the remaster. We're watching. Oh, by the way, if you're just following along, we're watching the original version of this. We're not watching HD remaster. That's important because they went and they redrew a lot of it because the faces were so inconsistent. But from everything that everyone I trust has reported, the HD version just looks really lifeless. I'll take weird faces over the show looking worse. I
don't even think the faces are weird. Like they're on model during this. This is just the style. Is like really overly detailed, massive eyes.
Yes.
This is the era we're in.
A ship comes in to Orb, escorted by Lieutenant LaFlaga, who's just a cool dude. Something of a Char Aznable, maybe. Who can say? The captain, they're like, are they gonna, if we start shit, are they gonna care? Cause like we're Earth Federation force. He's an Earth Federation guy. What do they call them?
I think it's the Earth Alliance. I think they said Earth Alliance.
Thank you. I will shake out my UC language eventually, but it'll take a week or two. But since Orb is part of Earth, they're just gonna naturally align with like the Earth Alliance. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
But they
Anyway,
they said they were neutral, so they like, is this a side 6? I mean, I know it's a side 7 situation, so eventually, but yes.
They're carrying a bunch of young pilots who are meant for something with like new weapons that someone like LaFlaga could not do, almost as if they need to like infiltrate a space. The way they implied is like, there's some kids who need to go undercover. But this doesn't actually pay out in these 2 episodes. So I don't really know what's going on.
Well, I assume these were the pilots that are meant to be the ones in the Gundams.
The Gundams, yeah, probably. On a Zaft ship, there is another man who is a Char Aznavour. He's wearing a mask. Do we ever get this guy's name through these episodes?
Yes, we do.
Because someone references the name I think this guy is, but I don't think anyone calls him by name in these episodes.
It's the other one that's a 3. It's like one's LaFlaga, the other one's got something else.
Yeah, it'll get there eventually then, but they do not. No one calls him to his face by that name in these episodes.
I think they say Lieutenant whatever is coming to the thing, but I have that's a name that skipped me by because there's 7 million characters in this episode, but they do say it that his name is Seb.
Yeah. Le Creuset. I don't actually know how you pronounce that because they only mentioned offhand once I wrote it down. Commander Le Creuset. Yes. So I'm going to try to remember to say Le Creuset instead of fake Char, but my notes here all say fake Char for this entire 2 episode set.
Because he's the guy with the mask, and he's also evil in his speech. Everyone, so there's a million characters on a million sides, but only this guy is going on like, I think it will be any moment now.
I love this guy. I hope he's cool.
He's pretty cool.
Anyway, he's hanging out with a Captain 80s, and they worry about like, we've got news that they've got new weapons. They show some pictures of some Gundams. I'm like, those are some fucking Gundams. And they have to act. They have to act now because the Earth has new mobile weapons, and they need to make sure they don't get taken to where they're going and used the way they want to be used. So there we go. We get some interaction with the kids. I'm trying to note everyone's name. There's like there's a girl in orange, and her name is
I have all the kids'
Mirialia.
names. There's a part where they all list their names, so I've got them all if you need them.
Yeah, no, I wrote them down as they were coming up too. And so she's like the I'm just going to use UC terms. She seems like the Frau Bow of this show. And they're all talking about like all the rest of the girls go up to her and like, what is this girl's name? I have her name. Flay Alistair got a letter from Cy Argyle, but won't say what's in it. And everyone's like, is that a love? Is it he deconfesses love? Who knows what's going on? And maybe you can tell us. And Kira seems very surprised and taken aback that she'd be getting a love letter. Maybe there's something on there. I don't know. Some shady government agents push by in sunglasses are like, children move aside.
I would do this if I was a shady government agent. I would not just walk like. It's not like there's a lot of people here. They could walk around, but no, they choose to push through these children.
Yes. The other boy mentions that Sai might be a rival for Kira. Then all the girls get into a self-driving car and say, we're going shopping. Peel out. The sunglasses government crew are all in another car, and these are Zaft agents. They talk about how strange it is peaceful when all the kids on the front are fighting. Like, if these kids were closer, in a place that wasn't neutral, they'd be in war right now.
Wait, these aren't Zaft agents.
These aren't the Zaft. Oh no, these are the Earth guys. Yeah. This
is the future leader of the ship.
Yeah. Right. You're right.
Important notes.
Yeah. We get a whole squad of Zaft soldiers coming into the colony, just like they do in 0079, just like they do in F91. I think those are the 2 big ones that have. I guess Zeta also are the shows that have people entering a colony dramatically at the beginning. I
mean, the F91 has suits entering a colony dramatically.
That's true, but they are depicted exactly the same way. Well, First Gundam has 3 Zaku. It's all the same, really.
This is like
Chars.
Quattro coming in. Yeah. I guess Char coming at the start of Zeta. But it's very funny because it's like it's the same thing, but because it's a new one, it's bigger, right? It's like 20 guys, and there's a laser grid inside the colony that they've got to deal with.
The other boy, just like generic boy, like young blonde friend, is named Tola Koenig. As they go through a checkpoint, we get everyone's names, and her name, the Mirialia's last name is Ha, and we got Kira Yamato, obviously, and they're here to meet with the professor. There's a mysterious youth in a hat there, just standing looking cool, and everyone's like, oh, they're here to see the professor. They say he, but immediately I was like, I this is anime of the year 2002. I could not tell you, and this becomes a plot point in about 10 minutes, which is very funny to me. We see the Zaf squad finding a ship in the hangar. Back in the base, Kira, and the professor's lab, Kira talks about some mobile frame upgrades he's been working on for the professor. Working for the experience, making weapons of war. The Zaf squad all plant bombs. The Zaf ship with Le Croissant in it takes off, setting off a ton of alarms across the colony as Zaf forces approach. Mono Eye suits, we find out, are called Djinns, all launch from the ship. And then Laflaga and his men all launch to go fight. They're in like fighter ships, which are very cool, and we have not seen enough of in all of Gundam to this date, I feel like.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah. In the hangar, all the bombs that the Zafta have set up. Sorry. In the ship, the big ship in the hangar goes, oh, well, we're going to hang back and they're going to deal with it because we're kind of like a secret white base, if you will. And we'll only go out if we're really needed. And then they summon someone named Lieutenant Ramius, because they need to get all the G weapons onto the ship as fast as possible because they're the transport for them. The bombs go off and war breaks out and everything goes to hell immediately. Just a lot of pink explosions, which I appreciate, and battle raging happening suddenly. The Zaf squad inside the colony spot the G-weapons and say that it's just like Commander Le Creuset told us. And then someone says, the naturals are blockheads after all. And I was like, is naturals like the term for like
old types?
Earthnoids or old types? Well, yes. Who can say? We get a bunch of fighter versus mobile suit combat, which, like I said, we haven't really seen a ton of in Gundam to date. But I think it's cool because you know what I like? A spaceship. A spaceship's pretty cool.
I do like a spaceship.
Yeah. We see Ramius. She's a woman in like a coverall jumper. She's got brown hair and she's stalking, the G weapons, getting them ready. Let's see. My notes are messy here.
The episode's messy. She's stacking that, and everyone is evacuating to the shelter. Is how I think the order of events.
Yes. But then the explosions happen, and everyone runs out of the lab except the mysterious hatted fellow and Kira run off in a side area as everyone else goes their separate way. And as the Zaf crew are looking at the G weapons, they're like, "Well, there's supposed to be 5, but there's only 3 here. What happened?" But then they're like, well, we have to destroy all of the transport equipment and leave no trace to make it think that because they intend to steal them and make it look like they blew them up. In an explosion in the hallway, the mysterious boy's hat gets blown off and Kira's like, wait, you're a girl. And I'm like, I don't know by what metric you measure that because she looks the same as she did. It's not like it revealed that her hair was way longer or anything. Also, plenty of guys have long hair in this show so far. There's nothing. Everyone has, I know that there's like a dismissive joke that everyone has same face in this show. That's true of basically every anime made after 2000 in a lot of ways. So I don't want to belabor it on this show, but you really can't tell.
I mean, the same face thing in this show is interesting in that it's actually not true, but it is true for the main characters.
Yes.
You are labeled being a main character by having the pretty boy face and the wafting hair. Both Kira and, Atheron in their flashback scene get this with the cherry blossoms. In fact, this scene cross-cuts from Kira getting this to her getting this, and I'm like, you two look the same. She does not look like more of a woman than you. And it's it's almost interesting in that, is this show... The show is not trying to say something about gender here, right? It's just a classic, we made pretty boys and didn't think about this situation. It could have chosen to, but it just instead is there. And I guess you can think about it if you want to. Instead, it's just very funny.
Gender is always fake, but it's especially fake in anime like this.
The thing that marks her most as a woman is her ridiculous masculine Naruto clothes, and I'm like,
well, the thing is, she's extremely cool and tough, and then literally the second she's revealed to be a girl, she starts crying as they're running down the hallway, and I was like, you can't do this to me. You can't fucking do this to me already, Gundam.
And then he's immediately leading around fixing kind of I hate anime so fucking much.
Yeah. They end up in the hangar and they see the 2 G weapons that are there that have not been sent out yet. The mysterious girl seems to recognize them and she shouts, "Father, you betrayed us." And I'm like, that's a great way to reveal your backstory, but not tell us anything. We see the 3 G weapons that were confiscated by Zaf get up. One of them is piloted by a blonde guy named Dirka, who seems like the most disposable. There's a silver-haired guy who we don't get the name of. He seems very cool and important. And then a green-haired boy named Nickel, who seems like the computery guy, like the nerd. In the BK Club Kids crew, he's the one who's all about computers.
Yeah, he does machines.
Kira tries to get them into a shelter, contacts the guy, like, the shelter's full. He's like, well, there's 2 of us, we need to get in. It's like, no, go somewhere else. It's like, well, one of us, like, I've got a girl here. And he's like, all right, send us your woman and we'll bring her in. And he pushes her in against her objections. Anime. And then he's left alone. He climbs up to a catwalk trying to get out of here, sees Zaf's soldiers about to attack Ramius from behind, and warns her, and so she's saved, and then she calls him down because she's like, it's safer down here, come see me, don't go through that door doesn't lead anywhere. Then as he's coming to meet her, she gets shot, not fatally, but shot by a Zaf soldier, and Kira comes to try to protect her. She gets shot
by a Photoshop filter.
Kira comes to protect her and realizes the soldier that's approaching to come stab her is his friend who went to space, Atheron. And he sees the flashback, and Atheron recognizes Kira, and they hesitate for a second, and then the soldier flees because Ramius pulls a gun, and then Kira and her take shelter in the Gundam, which stands up, framed by fire and explosions. The end.
Yeah. That is the
first lot happened.
We have never had this many moving parts in one episode of Gundam. Like,
there's just a lot of characters, and like they're introduced in en masse, so it's like, oh, this is a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, like Tomoe shows us lots of things happening, usually in hilarious, chaotic ways, as these plots collide. But this isn't really that. This is just like, okay, we have a few very normal plots. There's just 10 of them in 22 minutes.
Yep.
And they're all happening at once.
Yeah. But, I guess I'll leave impressions after the next episode because, not a whole lot happened here. But I thought this episode was it was mostly fun other than like the just a girl stuff. I'm like, what are you doing here? Please.
Yeah, that's basically where I am. I really like this episode, but the entire writing around Kira being like, pushed between multiple useless women in order to demonstrate how cool the protagonist is. I'm like, I see modern anime merging, and not in the visual way. I'm like, this is sort of unlike. I mean, this was here before, right? But like, this is the thing that always pushes me away from shows that could be cool, but are written around their protagonist being like a cool guy, and all the women being useless to demonstrate that. Is the endemic of anime. Stop it. Knock it off.
I have a higher opinion of Ramius than you, but only because of stuff next episode.
We'll see, because the stuff next episode was... There's stuff that she does that is cool, but the first thing that happened is...
Shut up, we'll talk about the next episode. First, we have to do voice actors.
I guess let's do some voice actors.
The first voice actor I just have one for each this week, is Kira Yamada himself, is voiced by Shuichiro Hoshi. He is Son Goku in the Sayuki series. He is Kyutaro Hoshino in Planetes. We just watched Planetes in our last season covering Turn A.
Lol.
That's the little brother who loves rockets. He is Gino Weinberg in Code Geass.
Yo!
He is Brera Stern in Macross Frontier, which is extremely funny to me, because you could not get a more fake Kira Yamato guy if you tried. He's Shinji Ogawa in Symphogear, and he is the voice of Goro Akechi in Persona 5, who I think's that shady detective kid.
Yeah,
Persona 5.
He's the detective kid in Persona 5 that when you were describing the plot of Persona 5 to me, I said, well, they can't have it be this guy again, because that's already the plot of the last game, and you went, well...
Well... but that's all I've got. We'll do more voice actors later. A lot of voice actors in this. A lot of people that we have seen and will see again.
Yes, well, we might just have a voice actor an episode till we're done.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Episode 2 of Mobile Suit Gundam Seed is called Its Name, Gundam.
So Heliopolis is getting evacuated. Atheron launches in the other G-Weapon and meets back up with the Zaf crew. This fifth Gundam has trouble moving because it's just like stumbling around. Seems like the system is not fully complete yet. And Kira on the screen spots all of his friends running away. And he mentions them. We get the kid with the Mondo looking haircut. His name is Kuzi. The Zaft shoots take pot shots at the Gundam, and then the commander runs out to capture it as Athrun wonders how his friend is wrapped up in all this. There's a scene where Kira falls face first into Ramius' chest because Anime is here, and then she says, "Stop being animated or get us both killed," which I like her. I hope she doesn't end up being useless the rest of the show. We'll see. Ramius then turns on some armor, which makes the Gundam turn into sick Gundam colors. It goes from gray to the tricolor, just in time to block the Jin's real metal sword attack. Like, it just has a real fucking sword that it pulls out and swings at the Gundam, but it can block it and a bunch of sparks fly off, and it can't do anything. And Athrun mentions that the saber's useless. The commander of this suit's like, okay, get out of here, take the G-weapon. You know, you can't get involved in a fight. So Athrun shifts his Gundam into a conspicuous red color and then takes off.
Yes.
Kira realizes from the way this Gundam's moving that it's using old OS systems, and the stuff that he's been programming for the professor would be great here. In fact, it would make this Gundam work a lot better. So he presses a few buttons to do a dodge, and then takes over, pushes Ramius out of the seat, and begins reprogramming the computer. We get a bunch of great screens. Both these episodes have incredible screens of ridiculous text. Anytime there's a screen, it's good. So shout outs to the UI design in this show.
This is the real thing that marks it as like a post-90s anime to me. It's like
yes.
just intense UI at all times.
He's able to make the Gundam much more mobile. It's now like throwing punches, and he finds 2 knives and pulls them out and is able to disable the Jin in 2 strikes, 1 to the shoulder, 1 to the neck. That thing's done. The pilot ejects and sets a self-destruct, which Ramius warns him of just in time to not actually help anything as it explodes. Pushes the Gundam back. Thankfully, it's got its shielding up. Causes a bunch of damage to the colony. It's just a mess. Bad times everywhere. One of the Earth officers, the lady who was in the sunglasses last episode, wakes up like covered by a dead body in an abandoned corridor where the gravity's off, and is like, "Where's the Archangel? I gotta go find it," and takes off. Laflaga is the only pilot doing well out there against the Zaft forces. His men been killed, and has gained the attention of Le Crescent. That's his name, right?
Yes. Le Crescent.
Yes. Let's see. The guy that Kira beat, his name is Miguel, and he sends an SOS, which gets Le Crescent out. He's like, I'm going to go deal with this myself, getting in a mobile suit. The officer in the sunglasses looks for survivors. She's not wearing sunglasses anymore, but finds a guy, and that guy identifies her as Ensign Badgerel. Badgerel? Yeah, Badgerel. Laflaga encounters Le Crescent, who seems to know him. He's like, do you feel me out here, Laflaga? I feel you out here. And then and he's like, I know your psychic pressure, Mu Laflaga. These guys gotta be twins, right? Like, they're the Char and Sayla of this.
Possibly. I mean, they're also the Jamil and Lazaro, in that they are not the actual character, they're older.
Sure, there's this show has 3 Chars.
Yes, remember when I was watching the OP and I was like, okay, that guy's got the Char mask, but I bet that there are multiple characters in this opening.
Also, that silver-haired guy might also be a Char, so there might be 4 Chars.
And I was going through the opening and being like, I bet there are multiple more Chars than him in the show. And guess what? Spot on.
After the battle in the colony, everyone takes a rest. Kira apologizes to Ramius for taking over. The rest of the kids are just hanging out in the Gundam cockpit, and Ramius gets up and fires at them, and at gunpoint gets them all to line up and tell them her names. We get Kuzi Buzzkirk. I listed everyone else's name before. Ramius identifies herself as Muru Ramius. I'm just gonna call her Ramius. Because the kids saw a military secret, she is putting them all under arrest until they can talk to someone who's above her pay grade and figure out what to do with them. Because really they should all go to jail or get shot or whatever. The kids object. She fires a gun in the air and is like, stop it. You cannot, we're in war now. The war came here. So now you're not children, you're soldiers. Love her. And then she mentions that as she's talking about the wars come, plant versus earth, coordinators versus naturals. And I'm like, excuse me?
Coordinators versus naturals, obviously.
New types versus old types. I don't know if this is meant to be new types versus old types or space noids versus earth noids, but either way, coordinators versus naturals is a weird set of terminology to apply to this idea.
It has to be
new types versus old types,
It has
right?
to be just versus old types, and it has to be like maybe in this, like maybe the plant situation is far more cyber new type. Maybe it means cyber new type, and that's just what like the norm is. Everyone's getting their upgrades. That's what coordinator implies to me. Is some kind of like artificial, situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially with like how much focus on Kira is about how he's a traditionally understood new type by a lot of people who don't understand what new types are, as in guy who's good with computers, which is not what new type means, but it is what a lot of understanding of what new type is.
Yeah. LaFlaga and Le Croissant fight to a standstill, and Le Croissant heads inside the colony. Bedril realizes that Zaf's true target has to be Morgenroth, which seems to be like the secret base where all the guns were being built, obviously. And she's like, them attacking us was just a diversion. They weren't actually here to blow up the hangar, so we got to go do something. Kira then hails her over the interference while he's in the Gundam. Sai, meanwhile, the blonde kid had driven up with a transport truck that Ramius asked them to bring, and she's like, "Oh yeah, the Gundam's battery's out. We need to get a striker pack on it and get it ready to go because it's going to be useful. It's going to be needed here." Bajuriel launches the ship to go aid Morgenroth and see what's going on, and a bunch of like fresh out of the academy officers pile in to take positions on the bridge. Love it. We don't get any other names. I assume there'll be characters later if they're ever going to be characters. Le Croissant and LaFlaga battle down into the colony where the strike is, like way above them. And the strike Gundam gets weapons hastily mounted on it, and Kira's inside, and now it has like guns and missiles, like it's got a shoulder pack with a bunch of missiles. But meanwhile, right as he's about to like start some shit, the Archangel launches and bursts through the wall into the colony, and now there's a huge giant battleship there also. So I assume the first 2 minutes of the next episode will be like Croissant getting the hell out of there. And that's the end of the episode. These episodes love to end on when you hit the music and something dramatic happens. Cliffhanger. Let's go.
They do the classic thing that I love when anime does this, because it's kind of rare. The credits music comes in over the last few seconds of the anime. I love it. I love that as a gimmick.
Yes, it always gets me. That's why. That's how I watched so many episodes of Hunter x Hunter in like 2 weeks. You just do that, and I'm like, well, I gotta hit next. I would hit next if I didn't. If I didn't have to do this 2 at a time of a week, I would happily have watched like 6 of these. I'm having a pretty good time.
A very consumable anime.
Yes. Yeah. In terms of like, it's gonna be. I want to break away from just constantly comparing it to UC like First Gundam, but right now it's really hard to because the show is doing that. Yes, very deliberately. But I know for a lot of people, this was their first Gundam or one of their early Gundams way before they saw actual Gundam. Maybe they saw Wing or something, but there aren't a ton of people in the West that saw first Gundam and then later saw Seed in the way we did it, right?
No, so we are one of those people, though.
Yeah.
So like, it is impossible to separate this episode. I'm sure eventually we'll just get to like space fights.
Yeah.
But right now, these are the first episodes of Gundam. Played at double speed with 12 million characters.
I love that there's 12 million characters. That's the part I'm like good for. I enjoy that.
What if there were 5 Gundams? What if Side 7 had 5 Gundams?
What if there were 5 Gundams, maybe 4 Chars, and like 2 Brights?
And also, what if Temray was a Xeon Defector?
Yes. That's all right. That sounds good.
That was a pretty good development.
What's his name? Franklin Badon. You mean Franklin Badon?
I mean Franklin Badon. I'm always talking about Franklin Badon.
Yeah.
And also,
a name I have not heard in a long, long time.
And also, underlining this on my pitch document to summarize how we're going to get Gundam back in the popularity of the people, what if Bright Noah was Misato from Evangelion?
There you go. Sounds pretty good to me.
When I saw her, I was like, "Oh, goddamn, this is shameless." Like, I like her character; she's fun, but damn, Sunrise, holy shit!
The thing is, if you ask me to identify the Masato of the show, I'm going to say that it's Ramiel. Ramiel?
Yeah,
What's it? Ramius.
that's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Badgeril.
I mean, she's like more. She is the closer to Bright.
Yeah, she's close to Bright
because she's going to be in like the main chair.
Yes.
Like there's, but this is just we traced over Masato and put her in a Federation uniform.
I love it. I think she's sick.
Her hair's like brown rather than purple because
she holds a group of children at gunpoint and tells them it's time to stop being kids. The war is here, and this is the kind of energy I need in my show that moves too fast.
Unfortunately, she does this immediately after she gets in a Gundam and then just kind of goes oh, while a boy has to push her out the way and press the block button. It's one of the most ludicrously incompetent things a woman's ever done in Gundam, and that's saying something. She just doesn't press any of the buttons in front of her. I'm like, yes. God damn. And it just all felt like, because I understand when that scene happens that it's not trying to paint her as incompetent in the way that like there are scenes with Far in Zeta Gundam where it is actually about the woman's incompetence.
This is about him having to rewrite the OS on the fly, but he's been doing that all along.
This is about
he just does that by throwing her under the bus.
Yes, it is the use of women as props in order to big up the main character who I already fucking hate. Because I
have no negative opinions. Kira Yamato seems fine.
He is totally fine, but he's a nothing, and all I know about him is the show will willingly throw other characters under the bus for no reason in the first episodes in order to push him. So like it's just the most bad protagonist energy.
We have a podcast about anime. We can't start saying anime itself is inherently without value 4 years in.
What? I like everything else. It's just the protagonist stuff. I'm like, oh no, this is all the stuff I don't like about anime. All centered on the one main guy at the center of the show.
Yeah, no. You're not wrong. I just am like, I knew this is what the show was going to be. Like, it's a 2002 anime.
I had simply got distracted, and because Laurent Siak is a nice boy with a genuine perspective on things, and is not a capital P protagonist in the way let me tell you
what show that was not popular. Turn A Gundam. You know, a show that is the second most popular Gundam Seed.
What's the most popular Gundam?
First Gundam.
This might be more popular than the first Gundam.
They're hit such different demographics, right? But like they're building when they built the Gundam that moves, it's the fucking Gundam.
That's true,
right?
That's true. They built the fucking Gundam.
They sell all of the like really expensive old people merch that they put out on P Bandai is like Zeon versus Federation shit, because First Gundam has a cultural cachet. You know who drives the fucking Toyota? Chars Aznavour.
Not Quattro Bagina.
Yeah, not Quattro Bagina, not like the Char Aznavour from Char's Counterattack, normal ass Char Aznavour hanging out, because First Gundam is like culturally important. But number two is Gundam Seed.
Yeah. So yes, we were talking about this episode, and I was like, I like all the characters, I like everything, I like all the nonsense going on. I just hate the way Kira is like put into the show. And I guess you're right that this is just all anime on some level.
Yeah. We've been lucky because we mostly watch old shit that isn't like before this becomes like the default thing for these kind of shows. Or we're just not watching this kind of show. I bet there's plenty of shows that do this. Like G Gundam did this quite a lot.
G Gundam and Wing both do this in some respect.
The thing with G Gundam though is that Hero is a dumbass and the show never makes him actually cool. So it just ends up feeling like doing this, but like making it flop every time.
You mean Wing?
Wing. Yes.
Because Damon's also a dumbass.
Yeah, Damon's also a dumbass, but that's just because the show's kind of bad. Look,
the thing with Wing, which is funny, is that the show does this, but then Hero never follows through.
No.
So like the show will bend over backwards to be like, look how cool, sick a super soldier Hero is, and then he just won't kill anyone for the 50th time in a row, and you have to laugh at it. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this will go. I hope it smooths out, but like, I just immediately am put off from Kira in a way that's like not even about his character, right? It's entirely how he is framed and centered, because he barely has a character other than bouncing between women that become useless only in the context of when they are interacting with him.
Yes.
But let's talk about the million other guys. We have we have a show with like 50 guys, which means at this early stage we have to stake our claims. Who do we think are going to be the guys to watch out for?
I don't know. I need more.
You need more? Not even enough?
No, I think we're not here yet.
Okay.
I think the guy whose name we don't have, the silverhaired guy, he's the one who seems most likely to go Joker mode at all times.
He's probably going to
just look at his design.
Yep.
None of the kids really stand out, especially in the kid group. So I don't really care about them. I'm really here for Ramia seems cool. I'm very curious about what's her name, Badgerel. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Athrons shit. I like the part where there's these two characters that had this friendship that now they're on both sides. That's just not a thing. Weirdly, it's not a thing we've seen a lot in Gundam yet.
No, like this is a thing. I'm surprised that like we've got Sailor and Char, right? We have like the Star-Crossed family.
But they're not depicted as equals in any real way because Sailor's on the bridge and a girl in a 70s show.
I guess we don't really have the thing where like the rivals are also the friends.
Yeah, they used to be friends and now they're on different sides of the war and didn't even realize that they'd be fighting each other. So both of them immediately have like hesitation and weird feelings about it. And that's really cool. That's just like a thing we haven't seen a ton of.
Yes. Because that's like it's a trope, but I guess it hasn't come to Gundam.
Yeah, it's
yet,
like
really.
It's like extremely shoujo-y to me, especially the way they're framed in their flashback. And put more shoujo in Gundam, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, and I'm just like
I'm sad their school blew up in the first episode because, as we talked about in Gundam Wing, and as someday we'll talk about in Code Geass, whenever there's a school, I'm having a better time.
Yes, because this is just Lelouch and Suzaku on some level. They also have this in the first episode, and they just go back to school. They just go back to school. They're like, fuck it, let's put the school episodes in the show.
It's a better choice.
But no time for that here. No time for school.
No.
They're soldiers now.
Yep. But other than that, kind of wait and see. But, it's fine.
I did, when they all said their names, was like, these are the future FBI guys from Death Notes. Tor's denote is here with with Kira Yamato. Cuzzy Buzzkirk. Cuzzy Buzzkirk!
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good name.
But yeah, do we have anything else for the first episode of Gundam Seed? Just like a interesting start. We'll see where it goes. Lots going on.
Yeah, I hope it settles down a little bit because I had to pause so many times to furiously write notes about what was happening.
It will have to. Like, at some point, they will have introduced all the characters.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, Gundam Wing didn't slow down till, like, episode 30.
Yeah.
And by slowed down, we mean crash into a wall.
Yeah.
But it really did go for it for those first 25 episodes with the original director. All right, let's get into our backup show this season. Our backup show for this season is Voltes 5.
You mean Show Denji Machine Voltes 5?
I mean Show Denji Machine Voltes 5. Super Electromagnetic Machine Voltes 5.
Yeah.
The 1977 Super Robot show, second in the Robot Romance trilogy, a not actually a trilogy of Super Robot shows directed by Tadao Nakahama. Other credits include literally every single person working on robots in the 70s. We got Tomino directing episode 1. Who's the director of episode 2? The 08th Missing guy who tragically died.
I closed all those. What do you want from me?
Well, him. He's directing episode 2. Character designer, Nobuyoshi Sasakato. Written by a million guys. Yoshitaka Suzuki.
So many, yes.
Masaki Sakurai. Masaki Tsuji. Katsuhiko Taguchi, Yumiko Tsukamoto is credited on Wikipedia, but I know there are other guys writing that is not even the ones that were shouted out there. This is just like a murderer's row of everyone working on robot anime in the 70s. And they all were on Voltus 5 for this period of time. So episode 1 of Voltus 5 is called Invasion from Outer Space.
My Blu-ray says Invaders from Space.
I'm going off my Plex titles. These are fucking wrong, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll have to find the real ones.
I'll have to find the real ones. I'll just have to screenshot them when I watch them.
Yeah.
Episode 1 of Voltus 5 is called Invaders from Space.
So, we get a giant fuck-off skull castle, which is great. Love it. Before Castle Xeon, before Dr. Wily, we get Skull Rook.
Let's go.
And in there is a prince who's a very bad man, and his name is Prince Heinel. And he's got a bunch of dudes who he's taken with him, a bunch of generals that are going to use to invade Earth. There's the big guy. His name is Louis Jingle. There's a lady named Lie Catherine, and then there's a creepy old guy named Dole Sul. This is your D&D party. We're ready to fucking go.
Yes.
They are from the Bozen Empire, and they're here to conquer Earth. It's time to conquer Earth.
It's time to conquer Earth.
On Earth, we get the Earth Defense Force, which is, they specifically shout out England, the US, and the Soviet Union, which is great. I love it. And leading these forces right here is Commander Oka. And he's talking to Dr. Hamaguchi, who's a real, like, Tezuka style ass mad scientist guy. And he hangs out with another scientist. Her name is Mitsuyo Go. I'm like, are they like father-daughter? Are they like husband and wife? Turns out there's no relation at all, other than they work together. So that's good. And they're going, as they hear about the attack happening, they're like, oh, we need to secure everything. Everyone, we're heading to the training facility as the city of Masato evacuates and there's chaos everywhere. The training center, a guy gets on the horn, is like, we are not going to evacuate. And behind him are 5 kids doing a bunch of sick training shit. And we're introduced to our protagonists. We get Kenichi Go, who's riding a horse and firing a pistol, and he's great at both of them.
He's riding a bike and firing a pistol. Someone else is riding a horse.
Oh, yes, sorry. Riding horses, yes. Sharpshooter motorcyclist Kenichi Go. We get the tough guy. Is he the older brother or is he the middle brother? It never actually says, does it?
I don't think it says. He's the big guy.
Yeah, he's the big guy. He's he does a bunch of martial arts. His name is Daijiro Go. We get the younger brother, little brother, who's swimming, doing a bunch of cool diving shit, and then murdering a shark with a knife. And his name is Hiyoshi Go. We get the girl who is a ninja master named Megumi Oka, daughter, I guess, of Commander Oka of the Space Defense Force. And then riding a horse and using a whip is a guy who's not related to anybody and will clearly be the guy who kind of sucks, Ippei Mine. Maybe he won't. The rest of these episodes make him very fun in like a Bez Fortner kind of way, but who knows?
Did you watch the preview for the episode that we haven't seen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And we'll be finding out what's going on with Ippei very soon.
Yes. So Mitsuyo Go, the doctor, is their mom of the 3 kids, and they've been training here for a year, and they're not very happy about it. Ippei's like, look, after I won the California rodeo competition, you brought me here to train me, and I feel like I deserve an explanation because I'm a rodeo champion. And Megumi here, she's the 18th heir of the Koga ninja art. Doesn't she deserve an explanation? And she's like, I don't actually really care that much. She's extremely over it. I love her. Cause she just looks like the like cool girl from Aim for the Ace. It's just her character. And I'm here for it at all times.
And we have to stress that, like, because she's a ninja, they've multiple times introduced her with, like, she's in full skin tight ninja costume, will then take off her mask and
then do a
reveal
cool hair
the
flip.
aim for the A set. It's
Yeah,
so
her
good.
incredibly long ponytail as she flips dramatically around her shoujo style. It's great. They're told about the alien invaders as we see a bunch of flying saucers just decimate the Earth, including blowing up the Twin Towers. Rip.
I would hate if that happened.
Yeah. Statue of Liberty also gets got, but that's not as
Funny.
Yes, not as funny. You said it, you're British, you're allowed. I can't say it as an American. The kids are taken to a secret base behind a giant tree wall, and by that I mean it's like a giant hill made of trees that opens up like I don't know if this is meant to be like a giant dome or if it's just like a wall. Either way, it's goofy. That like opens up, and behind that, Dr. Go mentions me and my husband, who's been missing for years now, built this just for this day. And Megumi's father, Commander Oka, and Dr. Hamaguchi helped as well. This is the Big Falcon, and it's a giant fuck-off base that looks kind of like a bird, and it has 5 compartments on the front labeled 1 through 5. What could that possibly be? And inside is the super robot Voltes. It's made up of a bunch of combining parts, and we get everyone assigned their numbers. Kenichi is 1, obviously. Mine is 2. Daijiro's 3. He's the big guy. Hiyoshi, the kid, is 4, and Megumi is 5. Then she's like, it's time to go out, and she just like dramatically turns and points at the 5 chutes behind her, and I love this woman. Immense menace radiating from this mom who lets her kids get in the robot.
She Usa owned 5 children.
Yes, everyone grabs a helmet and gets out and launch. The Bosons have been building a castle in secret, and the old guy is like, we've been building this castle for years. Everyone just thought it was UFOs and dismissed it, but we got them. And they go and land, and from inside the castle erupts the monster of this week, the Attack Beast Knight Dokugaga, which is a giant like moth robot. And in full super robot fashion, these are like weird bestial robots that seemingly are like self-propelled. They don't have pilots really. They just are big monsters that are going to get got.
Yes.
It goes and attacks it, like grabs an aircraft carrier and like flips it and like pushes it to the shore, causing a giant like wave that like the base that Commander Oka's at just gets like fucked up by the giant wave. It's very cool. A lot of cool shit happening. The Voltes parts are busy destroying flying saucers, but then they're called back to the base. Heinel's just about to declare victory when the Voltes parts and all the kids are instructed to volt in. And then they shout volt together, and they fly in a V formation and become the Voltes 5. The Bosons are stunned, and Heinel orders the Dokugaga to destroy it. But the Voltes uses a bunch of cool weapons. It's got a chain knuckle, which is like a mace that comes out of its arm. It has a Grand Fire, which is like a beam that comes out of the belt. Then it pulls out its like the full belt and becomes a bunch of string whips. And then it has a top that it uses like with the string whips to become like one of those like, you know, those like 70s martial arts movies with the big yo-yo that'll kill people. It's just that. Uses that to like attack Dokugaga. It slices off a wing and an arm. And then does like a cool like top trick by balancing it on the belt. It's fucking sick. I love it.
The show looks cool.
Then it pulls off its chest emblem, which becomes a giant fuck-off sword. It uses the Heaven Sword and then uses something called the Lightning V-Slash to cut Dokugaga in 2, make a big V out of energy that then the thing explodes, and they defeated it. Heinel swears he'd get them next time, and that's the end of the episode because a lot happened, a lot of setup, a lot of characters.
70s anime just be hitting different.
It does just be hitting different.
This show goes hard from the jump. We like immediately have a team of deeply traumatized child soldiers fighting a war in a world that has just ended, and everyone fucking died. Does not mess about. We're in it already.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the Robot Romance trilogy is known for like, they're all built out of Brave Raideen, right? And
yes.
Then they made Combattler V and Voltes 5 and then Daimos. And all of them are known for being the inflection point where robots went from like, it's weird because like I've watched like 20 episodes of Mazinger, Z, which I really like. But like everyone talks about like robot shows used to be about selling toys and then it became about characters and drama. I'm here to tell you that it was always about both, and it's still always about both.
Yes.
I think this is a fake dichotomy, but it does like invest a little more in like the drama of these characters being sad and going through stuff. Like, I like Mazinger, but Koji's going to go and he's going to be fine. Next episode is going to reset, and this is not going to reset. But I don't think that's as much of a difference as people want to make it out to be.
No. If anything, like the super robot and real robot dichotomy is one that is far like it exists in a modern era to describe like what the aims of a modern show would be. Mm-hmm. Like you say that to differentiate shows like Gurren Lagann and I don't know what a real robot equivalent would be, right? Because no one's making those.
It's just Gundam at this point.
It's just Gundam. But like that is a super robot show in the way that like in the 70s there was not this distinction, right? These were just robot shows. There was the same people like Tomino worked on this, he worked on Gundam, and everyone's like, this is the creation of real robots, but it wasn't like that much of a difference. Like Idion's a super robot show technically, but they're all they're all part of the thing. It becomes codified when like looking back through nostalgic lenses, like the way genre is split into little boxes as like fandom increases. There's like a mechanism of this all becoming otaku culture, I guess. In the 70s itself, this is just like a show. It's fucking good.
Yeah.
I like all the characters. We got very archetypal guys. Everyone just has their thing. But so far, apart from the ridiculous Ippei complaining man who was horse riding, I like everyone.
The thing is, like, I immediately saw Ippei, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be the guy that sucks. But everything in these 2 episodes and like the preview for next week seems like he might be the cool guy. I might think he's the cool guy because he just moans in the right way.
Yes.
About it. Also, he's a rodeo champion.
He's a rodeo champion. It's just good. It's just cool. Do you have anything more for episode 1, or should we move on to episode 2?
No, we should do our voice actor first.
What's our voice actor?
So I've got one voice actor, and it's Mitsuyo Go. I wasn't going to do voice actors for the first episode, but Mitsuyo Go not going to be in the rest of the show. Who can say what happens in episode 2? But she is voiced by Takako Kondo. She is Elmi Jordan in Idion, Bess Jordan's mother.
Amazing.
Love her. She is Colin in Mobile Suit Gundam 2 Soldiers of Sorrow, who I think is the person running the like daycare. I saw a picture of her and I'm like, she doesn't seem familiar to me. She's a Federation officer, just a lady. I think she might be running the daycare in the part where they give everyone the ESP tests.
Yeah.
I think that might be right. She's just listed as Fishmonger in G Gundam, which I thought was funny. But I knew exactly who that character was.
Yes.
Just a lady who, yes. And she's also the voice of Wardrobe in Beauty and the Beast, which I thought was funny. Doesn't have a lot of credits on those. Those are like it, really. There's like one other thing that I didn't list because I didn't recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone who's Idion gets in here.
As they should.
Yeah.
Episode 2 is called The March to Struggle.
So, Do Sul, the creepy old guy, is doing the thing that honestly I can't believe no one else does, which is just look at satellite photos to find the big hero base. He just goes
instantly.
on Google Earth and is like, find me the Falcon, and they find the Falcon.
He goes to Google Earth and like, if there's a big building that's weird, it's probably that one. And they found it. Instantly.
And so Prince Heinel sends out the new big demon knight or whatever called Baizanga, which is a big angry devil man with a bunch of ball and chain weapons. And Louis, the big general, goes out with him in the cast of the Skull Rook. He's like, I'm going to observe, and I've got a plan, and I'm going to take them all down. The kids are all having one final test as the Voltes machines are being tasked to destroy a target above the big Falcon as all the other kids who are here on the Falcon try to attack the Voltes in a live fire exercise. The kids are all like horrified. But Ippei is like, oh, this is a great idea because it allows you to train both groups at once and then they'll all know how to work together and do the thing. Dr. Go visits her husband's grave and explains to her husband that her kids are doing their best. They're very strong and he should be proud of them. And then we get a flashback to when he left, when their youngest was just a baby, or their oldest was just a baby. When he learned about the boson threat, And he's a very dramatic man with like a mustache and like like long hair, standing in the snow with her and the doctor guy who looks much younger. And he's like, I'm going to go to Boson and stop the conquest myself. If I don't come back in a year, assume I'm dead. And then you will have to raise our kids to be the last line of defense. Which is what happened. Certainly we're not going to see this guy in like 25 episodes.
I need it stressed that the ending, the ED, that has been seen before this episode is like, Father, when will you return to me?
Yes.
It's so much.
Everyone's, in the combat exercise, but then the Bizonga shows up and everyone rallies to attack it. The Big Falcon raises a barrier. The Voltes craft are able to cut the ball and chain the Bizonga has. Dr. Go goes to rush to the base, but the Skull Rook emerges from the ground and it fires a beam that catches her and she is blown the fuck up. And I'm like, oh, she's dead. And then it begins working on the barrier, poking a hole in it. Turns out Dr. Go's alive actually and is brought in on a stretcher and taken to an the operating room because she's gravely injured. The Voltes team is told about their mom and ordered back as she is in surgery. The Bizonga turns and tries to stop them, so they V together to go fight as the big robot.
When we say she's blown up, she gets like a full, 70s painted panel, essentially, where it's like a single image, and it's just a static image, and they pull back of her being hurled back by an explosion that has painted her entire body orange. Yes. And then she's on a stretcher afterwards. She's fine.
Yeah. In the operating room, they're like, could you please stop the explosions? We're trying to operate. And they're like, please hold it together. It'll be fine. And then at that moment, the barrier's breached and the operating room explodes and everyone's dead except for her body, which is cast down like, oh, she's dead too. The Voltes arrives and drives off Skull Rook, but then they see seemingly the body of Dr. Go in the ruins of the operating room, and everyone freaks out. Ippei's like, Kenichi, release the combination, go to your mother. And he's like, no, she fought for this. She put us in this robot so we could fight. It would be cowardly to break it up and go against her wishes, so we have to stand our ground and do our duty. And so that's what happens. They get captured immediately in a bunch of chains. And they're like, what do we do? We don't know how to handle this. We're new to this. Dr. Go turns out not actually dead. And she wakes up and drags herself into a jet. And with the last of her strength, Independence Days herself directly into the face of the Bizonga. Rip Dr. Go. All the kids, the three brothers all start crying. In the water where the two robots are standing, the Bizonga, which is like stunned, like taking a knee, just gets up and is like, well, that sucked. Time to fight again. But now they're pissed off and they throw all their attacks at it. They do the big V slash and like cut the head and like part of the chest off of the Bizonga, which like falls from the body before it explodes. It's really sick. And then the Voltes stands, framed by the setting sun, as Kenichi calls for his mom and cries, and that is the end.
This episode's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
So the first episode is just everything going real hard, a lot of stuff happening, getting everyone in position and just like investing you in the stakes and the mood of the show. This is like immediately, okay, we have to build genuine emotional connection here. We're going to kill the parents. Classic regular move to do, right? Like Gundam does this all the time.
Yes.
Camille Badan showing up again in this episode, reference for the first time since 2018, twice in 1 week. And it's like a fairly stock plot, but they just do it really well. Like I'm very invested in the story of her very bad day where she gets blown up twice and then still has to do a sacrifice.
Yes.
The kids in the robots is very well directed, as you feel there. Like, I'm in like a war machine while my mum's dying. It feels bad. 70 shows, they just go real hard with the traumatized kids.
Yeah. They do. I really like this. I mean, I kind of just like the aesthetics and vibe of Super Robot. I like when, they're transforming now, so I just get a minute and a half where I just get to listen to the song and watch the robot combined. I'm here for it every time.
Yes. I know that there's obviously a direct connection between this stuff and Toku. They are kind of coming from the same place. It's not a mech show technically, but Gatchaman predates Super Sentai, right? There's cross-pollination all over this. But this is even by the standards of a lot of other mecha I've seen, this is the most, this is a Toku show. that I've seen yet. I'm sure there are ones that are even higher up the scale, but it's extremely there. You got the 5 color-coded guys, and they're combining robots.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. Maybe I have a box set of Gotcha Man. That I'm like, man, I'm not gonna do it while we're covering this show, obviously, but I'm like, I should break that out.
You can't overdose on 17 stuff because it's too samey. But
yes,
2 a week is sick.
Yeah, no, I sit down and had a great time. Love it.
But yeah, that's
I'm gonna cheer every time the big robot takes out its sword and cuts a big V into a guy.
It's a really good animation on the sword.
I love when there's a new weird robot demon every time to be like a different kind of animal that has a weird gimmick.
It's really one of my favorite things about this is and this is just robots in general, not this show specifically, is obviously you have this like super robot tradition of the scientific robot against the bestial machines or monsters, depending on which designs you have. But Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
The second they changed to doing like in the late 80s when they were making Transformers anime and it was no longer even being shown in in America, immediately changes this. All the Decepticons become like weird dragon guys in a way that Transformers was not before that. But the second they were free from having to deal with America, they went back to it. It was so funny to me. You go watch the OPs of the Japanese only Transformer series and watch this happen in real time. It's good fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thing I wanted to shout out. Do we have anything else for these episodes?
No, they're just good. Nice start. I'm excited for both shows. I'm happy to get into the weeds on these and see what's what and how it's going. I assume Voltes will be very similar every week. I assume Seed will go all sorts of weird directions.
Yeah, that'd be my expectation too.
Yes.
If Youth has been your first episode, thank you very much for listening. Please, and if you've enjoyed it, please consider subscribing at patreon.com/abnormalmapping, where we'll have a new episode like this every single week as we go through Gundam Seed.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, we'll keep doing this. And there's, 200 and some odd episodes of us covering every other Gundam up to this point, and we'll keep going forever. Basically, we'll never stop because there's always more Gundam to cover.
Yes.
Yeah. I do want to shout out our artwork for this season. It's provided by our friend Santo, and you can find it at Tomatrioshka, Tomatrioska. Santo runs a game studio called Roger at Work, and working on a game called Cyber 3R's Revolution, all one word, which looks like a fucking sick mech game. You should check that out. I'm excited. I don't actually trust most people in the world to make a mech game, but Santo is one of the people I would trust to do that. And then Will did the logo treatment, which is at Tab Mabley, Mabbly, which did a great job getting the exact aesthetic of the Gundam Seed logo. And we'll also be doing our Seed Destiny logo when I figure out what the art for that looks like.
I love this season's artwork. I love the art. I love the logo. It just looks sick. The 2000s are here.
Yeah. Would you like to plug you?
Yeah, you can follow me at headfullsoff on twitter.com, and you can listen to other podcasts we do at abnormalmapping.com.
Yeah, as Jackson said, you can, of course, support us on Patreon, patreon.com/normalmapping. We do a lot of stuff. We covered so many anime. If you're just like, oh, what other backup shows we have? Like, if you go to timetogoax.is, there's like a link to a list of all the anime we've covered. It's not updated. It's like about 2 months out of date at this point, but I try to update it like a couple times a year. We've covered so many shows, both like seriously and just like offhandedly if we've watched something. So please check that out. You can find me on Twitter at em_being, and the show itself, mostly just a bunch of shit posts at Time to Go Axis.
Yes.
And then that's it. Thanks for listening. I hope to see you next week. We will continue.
Yes, we will continue. The podcast continues, Gundam continues. Amara, goodbye.